Old man doing a podcast. Real weirdos. We have English degrees. Real weirdos. We talk about movies for way too goddamn long. My picks are gonna get fucking weird, man. What were my picks so far? Mank and the Holy Mountain. That's it, right?
No, that can't be it.
Because the first two were just something we agreed on.
That can't be it. I'm going.
I think that's it.
I'm looking.
I think those are the
Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah, Host and Parasite were just things we did. Then Midsummer we considered Alex's. Macbeth, me. Holy Mountain, you. Funny Games, Alex. Tenet we just did. 12 Monkeys, me.
Yeah.
Fincher we just did, and then Mank. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I guess this would be those are your only two picks. Yeah, so I guess it's time for you to start getting weird.
Yeah, there are many choices. I was like, I could make them watch Space Jam 2, but then I'd also have to watch it.
But why? Like, there's nothing.
I know. I mean, I didn't.
I know, but like, even like, there's no value in that. You know, there's no content value. You'd just be like, oh yeah, this movie sucks.
I think us hating a movie will be fun.
I think so too. If the movie is like Ricky,
yeah,
or something,
I honestly thought we would have had a great discussion about the Tomorrow War. Because it's such a product in every way that it could really outline like what we.
I wouldn't
like.
mind. I would do the Tomorrow War. I would do that as an episode just to highlight like these fucking cookie cutter, all in one DIY fucking action movies.
I also have a prediction about that movie is like Chris Pratt moved from the silver screen to the big screen. And he's like in that moment of time where he's just making like fucking movies like nobody's business.
Yeah, he's going to be like the New Rock.
Yeah, but I have this weird theory that he's going to do like a McConaughey. And then in like 20 years from now, maybe 15 years from now, Chris Pratt is going to be seen as like one of like those serious and like fucking, I don't know, emotionally vast actors in some way.
I definitely think he has the range because I mean, just judging on his performance as Andy in Parks and Rec, he had a lot of range as that character. Like he was funny and then emotional and then serious. Like he had
interesting.
He had really great range, and so he has the ability. But I very much think that for him, this is just my projection, obviously. But I very much think acting for him is a job, in which getting parts and getting paychecks pays the bills.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't seem like an artist.
Yeah, I don't think he's very much like. I think he loves film and, definitely is a fan of film.
He likes God and hunting and eating meat.
Yeah, but he's definitely like, this is, he's an actor. He's just like, this is his job. And so he's going to take the roles that like make it so he can live in his house and pay for his cars and go out on hunting trips and, pay tithes to his favorite church.
I might be making the church thing up. I don't remember.
No, I know. I definitely remember he's very religious.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see in the Tomorrow War if you ever watch it. He doesn't have a whole great range in that one, but he's not terrible either. He's solid 7. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he definitely, like this. I don't think that.
But neither did McConaughey.
I think he's a bit typecast at this point as well. He's played kind of.
Well, he's reveling in it though. He's like, oh, let me be the sort of like jokey, handsome guy that leads your action movie.
That's fine. Yeah. But is that what the Tomorrow War is? Because I thought the Tomorrow War was like a serious action movie, right? He's playing like a Jason Bourne type character.
No, it's a Roland Emmerich movie, basically.
Dude,
they get to like they're transported back to like or forward
I've read the
into
plot
Miami.
synopsis.
Yeah, but I'm explaining to you why this is dumb.
Okay.
And I'm like a moment that tells you what this movie is. And like he has this like wisecracking black guy as his sidekick at this point in the movie. And the black guy looks around and he's like, "Oh shit. I'm glad Will Smith ain't alive to see this." And I was like, I want to punch you. I want to punch you, movie. God.
Oh yeah, well yeah, obviously there's okay. I honestly didn't know what
That's your tone.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
know what
your
the tone
tone
was in the movie. I thought he was supposed to be like. I thought this was like their attempt to like market and ship him as like a new Jason Bourne or like The Rock type character, like kind of like a
maybe
action hero.
I mean, it's
he
not.
He could play Christian Slater's part in a remake of Hard Rain.
He could.
Like, he would be perfect for that role.
He'd be perfect.
That wisecracking like leading man.
Oh man, don't like even put the idea of a remake of Hard Rain into
nobody. They would never
It's
be
out there.
remade. Nobody saw it to begin with. There's just no way.
Someone does it as like a fucking like independent film because they just love it so much. They're like, I'm gonna remake Hard Rain.
$8 million of the $10 million budget spent on just water.
Yeah, I don't even think that'd be enough. It's be a tremendous waste of water in this climate as well.
No, it would all just be
God.
CGI. All the water would just be CGI.
That's one thing that's really hard to do if your actors are going to be in it, or like water. If you have actors in the shot, generally, especially if they're like on the water or in the water, you got to use water.
Yeah, but like you know,
act like you're wet.
Exactly. Rain is hitting your face. It's just I'm like blinking
until it gets cheaper to do the Grand Moff Tarkin treatment to like everybody, and then you can just like CGI those scenes.
Well, I mean, eventually, I think actors are going to become like theater, kind of. You know what I mean? Like live actors is going to become a thing more like theater, like maybe like 100 years, 50 years down the road, where like eventually CGI and like computer animation is going to be as good, if not like more enticing to certain receptors in your brain, and that'll be like the new actors will be these like people.
That's fucking horrifying.
People will fall in love with characters that don't like actors that like don't exist, and they'll have like whole personas, and they'll like have like merchandise and all this stuff. Like they will be like people, and they will be personified as like
K-pop,
real kind of like that, where it's like, but the K-pop people are, while they are very like packaged and
or like Hatsune Miku,
they're still real people. I'm loving that. I'm not loving, but I'm like playing around with this idea of like there won't be real actors. They'll just be these ideals, these personas.
There'll always be actors.
Yeah, in like theater, like live.
I hope you're wrong, but you could easily be right.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right, but who knows? I'm just like kind of a pessimist when it comes to the future.
If we're still here, we'll find out.
Anyone listening to this podcast that is 2 to 3 years old, let us know in 50 to 100 years.
Yeah, send an email to our web zone.
Yeah.
And tell us.
Send it to our AOL account.
Or like whatever, maybe our consciousnesses will be uploaded somewhere, and we'll be still
like
be
cloud.
Alternate versions of us. We'll still be doing this podcast.
Yeah. Oh shit.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's a good segue into the content that we're going to be talking about today.
Oh man,
seriously,
futurity and weird videography-ness,
existential,
all kinds of
everyone's
separation.
Existential weirdness. Yeah, we're talking about Videodrome. Real Weirdos. We're back. 1983 movie from David Cronenberg. And this is a weird one.
Long live the new Flesh.
Long live the new Flesh. This is a very Jesse pick, I believe. I don't know if that's fair to say.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we were discussing before we started recording. Actually, it might make it in. I don't know. That I forgot my point. I literally forgot my point in the span of half a sentence.
Wonderful.
Oh, well, I rolled out of bed, got some tea, and then started talking to you guys.
Oh, great.
What the hell was I saying? That's amazing. That might be a new record for me.
The dementia's setting in, folks.
Yeah.
That's happened as I've gotten older, for sure.
Like, I literally have no idea what I was going to say. I don't even remember the context of it now. Something about Videodrome.
Was it the sound of the gardeners in the background that was distracting you?
No, I don't hear any gardeners.
Good, because I hear them.
Are they pruning your bush?
No. No, they're doing the neighbors, of course, right now during recording, so I apologize.
Yeah. I heard a yip there or something.
Yeah.
Was that a doggy yip?
Yeah, that was the dog wanting to come back in.
Those woofy dogs. Yeah, where was I? I was somewhere.
Yeah, you had forgotten
in
a
a
point.
strange land.
Well, Videodrome, though.
Videodrome. David Cronenberg
This podcast.
directed it, 1983. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I've only had 2 picks so far, which were Mank, because it was like a contemporary interesting thing, and my other weirdo pick, which was The Holy Mountain, which was fun to inflict, and I didn't know what your guys' reaction to that would be, and I'm so glad you enjoyed it to the extent that you did.
It was so good.
Videodrome is not The Holy Mountain.
No.
It is, however, very weird. So yeah, I mean, if you're aware of Cronenberg's early filmography or reputation, even maybe you've seen the Rick and Morty episode. Some people know it from that. He has a lot of interesting, off-putting, like body horror elements to his movies, and a lot of early crazy practical effects. There are definitely some scenes in this movie that directly influenced later, like super splatter type stuff, like Peter
definitely.
Jackson, Dead Alive.
There's a lot of influence from this
my
movie.
favorite. So yeah, Videodrome. It's about a guy who runs a what would you call it? I guess like an adult entertainment TV station, something like that.
Kinda. I'd say it takes place in the time where television was a little bit more of like an open frontier, and just like radio, you have bands, and there were stations that were unregulated by any kind of network or anything. They were just kind of free stations. They weren't even public, because public requires public funding. So there really were just pirate television stations, essentially, and you could pick them up on different bands, and you could also, they'd broadcast to like they are Channel 83, and this is during the time where there was only like 13, 14 channels. So Channel 83 would be like way in the backlogs. It would come in fuzzy. It would be like kind of grainy and full of fucking snow. And so that's the type of like television station he runs, and it shows like primarily adult entertainment.
Yeah,
and
shows
violence.
like softcore porn and violence and stuff. He's basically a sleazeball. James Woods, that is. And he and his buddy, his like hacker buddy, pirate buddy, find a program. They ostensibly like just catch it at random, and it's this thing called Videodrome, which is essentially torture porn. It's like real life torture porn. And his life gets weird from there. It gets weirder and weirder, and then it gets psychedelic, and it gets really gory. And I think I'll let that lie as my my little intro for the concept of Videodrome. We'll get into the more like overarching and heady themes of it, because they are there. But I want to just get some introductory thoughts from you guys. Alex, what'd you think of Videodrome? Had you seen it before?
No, I had not. I wouldn't count as me seeing it before. I remember pretty sure that it was on TV as a kid, like when my parents were watching or something, and I might have like seen it out of the corner of my eye or watched it for a few minutes, but I remember vividly the like shots of James Woods in it. But for all intents and purposes, no, I had not seen it before.
You don't remember him like having a videotape that's made of flesh inserted into his stomach?
It was stuff like the stomach thing. Definitely was like, I feel like I had seen this somewhere before, but I would say it's actually decently entertaining. It's not a movie that like
the ringing recommendation.
I mean, it's not
actually
a movie that like
decently entertaining.
Oh yeah, like I don't trail off.
Stuff to say too, but don't worry.
I never trailed off at any point watching the movie. I was pretty focused in on it the whole time. It is sub 90, I believe. Yeah. It's like an hour and 26 minutes. So like,
yeah, it's very lean.
It wasn't super, I don't know. It wasn't super fluffy, and there wasn't anything extraneous in it. Like it was actually pretty, like you guys said,
I wouldn't
tight.
say that, but movie is the definition of extraneous. But
but each scene in the narrative, like it held itself together. I want to say my favorite things were definitely the practical effects. We're big on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the practical effects are fantastic.
It's the best part.
Yeah. And then I like the cinematography, especially the camera work and camera positions in a lot of the shots.
What?
It makes for very visually pleasing shots that I think were really cleverly done. And the last thing I'll say about it is that it feels kind of like a B movie that just wasn't a B movie, that has the like budget of, you know, pretty standard Hollywood.
Definitely.
Yes, I have a note here. I was like thinking about a simple way to describe it, and I came up with lofty schlock. You think that works?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it is schlock in a lot of ways, but it's trafficking in a lot of really cool ideas. It's a very prescient film, apropos the concepts of like desensitization and the internalization of imagery in a new era of screens. Because this is 1983.
You just reading off my notes, bro?
Oh, no, I wasn't. But Jeff, Alex, did you enjoy the movie? I wasn't sure like where you landed there.
I did actually. I did enjoy the movie.
Jeff.
Oh boy. Okay, this film. So I was really ready to like really tear up this movie during the first half. Pretty much until he puts the gun, the true first body horror element of the movie, whereas when he like, you know, he's itching himself with the gun, and then it's like you get the first kind of shot of this open, I guess, video slot in his stomach. And that's when the movie from there on really took me and kept me going, and I was really entertained, and I loved the body horror and the weird twisted thriller elements, and there was a lot of themes that I really agree with your assessment that this movie had some really amazing ideas but suffered from just god-awful acting and weird pacing issues. And so that's where like I would like be really into like this kind of trippy psychedelic body horror, and then you would have James Wood coming in and be like, I'm crazy, and it's just not. It didn't resonate. You
didn't like James Woods in this role?
I liked the way he looked. He was very handsome, but otherwise, I did not think he was entertaining.
I thought he was great.
This role, really
handsome.
Really?
I mean, there's a reason why James Woods went on to have a career after this film, and basically no one else did. Deborah Harry was, you know, she's Blondie. She doesn't need to be an actress or anything. So I thought James Woods was the best actor in the whole movie.
I mean,
which isn't saying a lot.
Sure. I mean, that's definitely true. But I mean, it's just, I just don't think any of the acting was believable or convincing. It had really weird pacing issues and strange tonality with like
what pacing issues?
So I just didn't feel like the pacing, they would switch between the normal and the surreal in a way that didn't make any sense. Like he would reach in and he would have like the gun kind of morphed to his hand, and then it wouldn't be, and it would just, and it didn't feel like they were trying to play with a theme of like, oh well, he's kind of like which is reality, which isn't reality, which I know is a theme. It just seemed like oversight on the director's part to be like, no, let's continue this idea that like this is.
I think it's more like in the close-ups, it's supposed to be sort of his world where the gun is sort of like biotechnology fused to his hand. By the way, I feel like I should have explained this better. I think in the future, I'm going to write up like an actual plot synopsis, because anyone listening to this who hasn't seen the movie is going to be so horribly confused about what the fuck we're talking about.
If you listen to our podcast without watching the movie, I mean, you're our champion. You're a fucking legend.
Yeah. That's true. Seriously. That's true. Anyway, what I was saying is, so I think like when it does the wider shots, see, I'm remembering what I'm talking about now that I've had some caffeine. When it has the wider shots, when he's not in the gun, it's like, it's more like the real world, you know? So it's the movie is about the lack of delineation between reality and sort of like television fantasy kind of thing, and how how television or like things that you watch infect you. You know, you become the things that you watch, which is why he becomes completely like an agent of the Videodrome, sort of thing. It's obtuse. It's obtuse. It becomes obtuse what's happening later. But like I said, the main theme is the concept of desensitization. But I take your point that those two elements of him with the gun specifically, I see how you could have thought that.
There's more elements. It's just hard for me because I tend to write down things that I like opposed to things I don't like. I just kind of notice them. But I just felt like it would transfer from a serious scene to kind of like humor, back to body horror, back to humor. It didn't really have like a flow that kind of fit the way I was wanting to watch the movie, I guess is the way to put it. Is like I kind of expected the story and the narrative and the horror to go a certain way, and it kept diverting, and it was annoying at times because I was like, all right, let's just keep this going. Why do we keep going back to like this kind of boring, bad acting dialogue?
Oh, poor Videodrome.
So it was just kind of like hard for me. I was like, I want more of like this high sci-fi, weird horror. Like, let me get more of that. And it's just like they were like, no, we're gonna piecemeal that out to you because we know it's the best shit we have. Here, listen to this boring guy talk for 5 minutes.
You are our resident cerebral sci-fi expert, so I am taking your opinion highly.
I just don't think the dialogue was delivered in any way that was engaging, so it made me not care about the story.
The dialogue was pretty. Yeah, I don't even know how to say it. It was like
it's on the
very
nose,
unnatural.
Maybe?
Yeah, on the nose is a good one. Yeah, I don't know. It almost seemed like it was written by someone who had been locked into a room for like 15 years and had never spoken to an actual person in their life.
You guys, I don't understand what the fuck you guys are talking about. I really don't.
James Woods just like he has no like consistency of tone when he's acting. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna be really serious and frantic, and then I'm gonna make a joke, and then I'm gonna be like the suave guy for like 5 seconds, but then I'm gonna go back to making a joke, but now I'm gonna be like, oh my god, now look, my stomach's open. Like there's no consistency of his character. It's like, what is this guy? Is he the hero? Are we supposed to like him? Is he this kind of sleazeball, ass grabbing womanizer? Like what are we trying to who are we siding with here? Is there no hero and it's just like presenting these ideas? Because it has great ideas. That's my favorite part about the movie is there's great visual comparisons between the TV, this era of television and the era of the internet, and how these two things, like these ideas of the movie are kind of like almost like you said, like this prescience, but it's just not delivered well. And I'm surprised that you think it is, Jesse. That's really surprising to me because I thought the first thing you would say was that James Woods was like a mess.
No, well, I think the way that the film descends is super interesting to me. I definitely agree that like I personally fucking love this movie, but I think the reasons I like it are the ideas and the effects and the sort of way that those two things interplay. You know what I mean? It's more
the two best themes of the movie for sure.
Yeah, it's more conceptual. Like I could definitely see it's not the tightest narrative. It does flit back and forth and it gets crazier as it goes along.
It's a good reflection of the theme, though. Talking about the descent of the movie, it really tacks on to that conceptual idea of James Woods being infected by, the Videodrome and like going through the process of his life being taken over. And it's funny because while I was watching this, I thought back to our Fincher conversation about the movie The Game, which I know Jesse or Jeff you haven't seen, but a lot of the game, like a lot of the elements in Videodrome, reminded me of The Game. It's like the TV talks to you. You have this weird overarching like organization that is controlling your life when you don't know that they are. Like, there's a lot of familiarity with that. But yeah, going back to what Jesse was saying, the descent of the movie is actually really interesting when you compare it to the thematic element of like what is happening to James Woods' mind.
100%. Like, I think this movie is very entertaining. The whole time I was watching it, I mean, the first half, I was a little bit bored. But I still thought, like, okay, these themes are a little creepy. I'm liking this, like, I love the sex scene, that first sex scene. I tend to be a big hater of sex scenes in movies because they just feel so fake and
Jeff's
staged.
asexual.
And so I'm not...
Eroticism makes him angry.
No, it doesn't. Just television eroticism makes me angry because it's just, like, doesn't capture, like, the disgusting, sweaty grossness that is sexual intercourse.
Oh yeah, we should say this is not a comfortable movie.
Oh no, this movie.
Mom, if you're listening, don't watch it. Yeah. You're not gonna like it, Mom. It's got porno and stuff. It's got it's torture. It's got a man reaching into his own stomach. It's got a lot of weird, gory stuff, and.
Brilliantly
it's
done,
sleazy. It feels very dirty and sleazy from the outset. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a good movie. I felt like it just suffered from bad acting. And I feel like I'm coming off as a little too scrutinous of the movie's acting because it is, like you're saying, a lofty kind of B movie. And I don't look at Frankenhooker and expect good acting. I expect to laugh. But I don't look at this Videodrome in any way the same way as I would look another B movie like Frankenhooker, and that's where it's differential for me because you have Cronenberg, you have James Woods.
Well, that's what Cronenberg did. Like for a long time, he did The Fly.
Right.
Like,
well, see, The Fly doesn't feel like a B movie to me either. Like I
actually don't remember it. I'm just quoting another movie.
It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and I watched it all the time, and I love The Fly, and I always felt just like a movie to me. The Fly feels like more of a well put together movie. I mean, it also suffers from a lot of like dialogue issues and acting issues as well. But I don't know, like movie's good. The themes are awesome. Like if my notes are just filled with all of these cool themes and comparisons and funny little like details. The movie's very detail oriented. Like little details change as the reality and the hallucinations start to mix. And
what details?
Like there's little like things where, I mean, I guess maybe I'm seeing this as maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but when he's going into the room, when he's looking for the tape in his room, and there's a picture of Hitler in a ballerina outfit next to him.
I've never seen that.
And I'm like, huh. Now, that could just be like because he's like an edgy television show like producer, and so it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have this like kind of weird, funny shit that I can like because I'm kind of edgy and shock value. But it was just kind of weird. And then I kept looking around the room and like reversing the video, and there was just other like strange pictures. There was like pictures of like two people just like looking at each other, and it was weird. It was like this, the set started to kind of change and shift, and then like I noticed a lot of television sets, not all of them, but a lot of them, even in the scenes where he's not hallucinating actively, have little like veins drawn in them. And it was just like, it was like the TVs themselves are becoming like more and more alive. And then there was one other detail that I wrote down, which was, and this is probably me just like fishing for details because I was really into it at this point. But so like a cathode in a TV is like a light basically, and it emits a certain kind of white light, and the lighting of the movie started to change as if it was like almost like Poltergeist when like the lighting of the TV is around the girl's face. It almost was like lit by cathode light a lot of the time, and it was really like soft and white. As the hallucination world started interjecting more with the real world, the lighting became more dull and white, as if you were like in a dimly lit room with the television playing. I don't know. That was just like fun little details that I really loved in the set and everything.
Yeah, the movie looks great. The lighting, especially when it becomes anything when the movie gets weird, it wins.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anytime it's getting weird, you're like I'm in. Like Cronenberg like invented this shit almost, you know.
Oh, it's so much
it's
his
so good,
style. Though. It's 100% like when other movies have tried and done body horror, and some have done it pretty well. But there's something significant about his style. Maybe it's the old school practical effects look of it, but there's something so significant about the way things become, the way the inanimate becomes flesh in his movies is so...
What other movies do it like that he did that does the inanimate become flesh? I'm not calling you out here. I just want to know.
I don't really know, but I think I don't really know.
You have Shivers, Rabid, The Brood, Scanners.
Maybe Scanners?
I can't remember. I need to rewatch these. The only one that I know like totally in my brain is Videodrome.
I know The Fly really well. Dead
Yeah,
Zone,
no, The Fly has
Scanners.
a lot of the trademarks. Not inanimate into organic, but like the set, as far as the set design goes and the details and like the set and the character costumes and whatnot, it's all brilliant. In The Fly and in this film, I actually like this movie better than The Fly.
Yeah, I disagree, but that's nostalgia probably just playing a big part of it.
I think this movie is almost as good as Naked Lunch, which I equally could have done and will do at some point. 100%. I also love that movie.
Well, I have one thing about the camera work, at least. 2 scenes in particular that I thought 3 scenes, that I thought were like just so well done. And what really sold me on this movie. So the first scene where he's noticing that scar in his belly and he's watching television and it's like everything start to like breathe, you know? There's a scene where they place the camera right on top of the television. And like Jeff was saying, he approaches the television and that blue cathode light starts to like overtake him. And you have this close-up of his face watching the TV start to breathe and get veins and things like that. And I just thought they could have placed the camera anywhere in the room for that. And they put it in a spot that was like, I just think it was the most perfect spot to put it. It played into the lighting. It played into the set design because, you know, you have the foreground of like the TV breathing and then you have James Woods' face bathed in the cathode ray.
Are you talking about the scene when like the TV's like coming to life and like and Nikki is on it and like her lips are on it and he's like making out with the TV?
When he like enters his head into the breathing television orifice of her lips and you're like, wow.
I mean, yeah, that was probably one of the best scenes in the movie. And I definitely agree with you, Alex, because I think the camera positioning on that was to be POV almost. Like, I think you're supposed to be kind of looking down from her perspective, and James Woods is like entering you through like, you know, through your legs and everything. Like that's kind of the way I saw it. Because they just zoom in on her lips, and it's like lips, you know, like there's like it's just there's a lot of like fun themes and fun visual effects, and that's when the movie really shines.
I like the reading of that shot as like you're sort of having the point of view of the television.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie is about like television is reality kind of thing. Like you have this radical organization that wants to, I don't know, infect people with a signal based on like their, it gets weird. It gets weird basically. But it traffics in the concept that what you see infects you, right?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting because the movie functions similar to its critique, I would say, like apropos desensitization, because like this is probably one of the movies that desensitized me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's done what it's sort of critiquing. And you can just feel Cronenberg's disgust with the world through this picture. Mm-hmm. And I love that, like, this is like the dawn of VHS, I believe. There's like they're still doing Betamax and stuff. 83, I might need to check that. But anyway,
because
like home video.
Tapes. Yeah, there's different tapes.
Yeah, home video is becoming a big thing, and this is Cronenberg looking into the future and seeing the addiction level that people have to screens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm watching this movie came out before I was born. I'm 33 years old. It's an older movie, folks. And he knew what the score was. He knew what was going to happen. He saw the writing on the wall and he's like, people are going to get like really addicted to the shit, and it's going to warp their brains.
Yeah.
You have the concept of the, what is his name? Brian Oblivion. And he's talking about how everyone will have, he's on the panel show, and he's talking about how everyone will have their like video names, their television names in the television realm.
Yep.
It's like the future TV scientist guy, and it's like, oh, Cronenberg just like
he just
accurately predicted the internet.
Yeah, he predicted like handles, like ads, all the handles and stuff like that, and like no, I mean there's so many. I mean we're gonna sound like a bunch of crotchety old like anti-internet social media people on this. But,
I'm on the internet all day.
But exactly, we're not. But this movie deals with like simulacrum a lot, like that concept of simulacrum.
Definitely. Baudrillard. Yeah.
Yep, and existentialism. The idea of having a persona that only exists in the digital space, and that is the persona that you present, and the real you is irrelevant and might as well not exist. And then you have like the cathode mission is like almost a precursor to the internet. Like I kind of viewed what Cronenberg was thinking. He almost not just a precursor to the internet, but to 4chan specifically.
Jeff and his 4chan. Because I bringing up 4chan almost as much as he likes bringing up video games.
I have a video game reference to this movie too. But yeah, it's just this movie is very like, it was just reminiscent because 4chan is really that place that you go to find like the violent videos or the gore videos or the
I have never gone on 4chan.
So 4chan, it's it's just a forum site, but like on the forum sites, they like you can that's where you go to get that shit. Now obviously people listening who may be like more sleuths of the internet know to go in more dark, and I don't fuck with the dark and seedy perverts. Alleys.
You perverted listeners of ours.
I don't fuck around with the seedy alleys of the internet at all. So 4chan is about as seedy as it gets for me. And yeah, you can. That's where you find that, and that's where the idea of the cathode mission really like resonated with me. It's like this hub, this small place where people go to almost like evolve the way they think. At least they think they are. Into something like better, like, oh, I'm experiencing all this media, all these different opinions, but what it ends up being is like this warp, this evolution of the human mind to where when you go on that website, you read some of the most horrific shit that has ever been written, like about other human beings, like just posts, like the most racist, horrible garbage that you can ever see, like just Nazi dedicated boards, and it's like, this is kind of the evolution, the change in the mind, the brain tumor, if you will.
It's the subterranean network.
Yeah, the subterranean network. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that actress.
I loved that whole aspect of the movie, honestly. Like the idea that it's past just pirate TV almost. It's like, I don't even know if it does it predict home video more or just the consumption of television? Like, do you guys see it as commenting more on film or on TV as industries?
I don't think it's a critique on like movies specifically.
Yeah.
I think it's A, television, B, like what's going to happen when you have the ability to watch anything you want, including like insane hardcore violence, and that's where the desensitization comes in. Yeah, because like they figure out or James Woods figures out or is told that Videodrome, the thing that's like he's been chasing, this snuff film thing coming out of Atlanta, is real, and he's just like, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But he knows. Exactly. Like deep down he knows. He's just getting off on it.
Well, yeah, he to believe it, to acknowledge it's real would make him feel sick, essentially, because he would be acknowledging that he's interested and almost aroused in some way by real violence, and to him that's just like at that point in the movie he's not ready to accept that level of desensitization. Oh my fucking god, I hate that word.
Oh, it's staying in.
The convex guy, Mr. Convex, the guy who works at the glasses place, he explains that to him at one point. He's like, yeah, you think it's bad and it's immoral, but you kept watching it. I actually thought that guy was a good actor too, though.
Yeah, he did. He did well. Yeah, he did well in his role for sure.
The whole like a lot of the visual effects aren't just like crazy effects. Like there's something to be said for how he literally opens up his flesh as a receptacle for tapes.
Yep.
You know, and so it is like when you're focused on real violence and getting off on that, there's something to that as well. Apropos James Woods, but it's also the element of watching it and the breaking down of the boundary between what is real and what's not once you like are into something that you're watching. I don't know. It gets very strange. Help me out here, Alex. Talk.
I could help you. I mean, if you notice the movie, the video cassettes themselves become more flesh-like and living as the movie progresses. They breathe, and then the last one that he tries to insert, Harlan, the hacker guy. He tries to insert that last tape, and it literally is like an organ. And so I think what you're trying to say is that this media becomes part of you.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave. I can think of almost every horrendously violent video I've ever seen, like a beheading video or any of those. I can pretty much play those scene for scene in my head at this moment.
Yeah, that should affect you.
Because it has imprinted on me in such a way that I can't get rid of it.
Yeah. Like I would imagine if you sat, I've not done this, listener, but if you sat around and just like watched hardcore porn for 24 hours, your brain wouldn't be the same afterwards. You'd feel like fucking mush.
Yeah, only people who have sat around for 24 hours watching hardcore porn would have to preface it by saying they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. 24 hours though. That's a long time.
I mean, it's not just like vanilla porn, right? It's like raunchiness. And
well, it
like
would descend. Like I think that's the point. Is that you would start with like, all right, I'm gonna watch some like basic stuff, and then by the end you would be like on 4chan, like digging around, like where's the fucking pooping in my mouth porn?
Yeah, exactly.
God.
Exactly.
The best stuff. Well, that's what we end up doing as humans with anything we're interested in, right? Not so much pooping in mouths, but like going deeper and deeper into things that interest us, because once you start with something, the tendency is to always go deeper if you like it, right? You get into fancier foods, like you get into like craft beers, all of a sudden your Budweiser is not going to satisfy.
Yeah.
It's the story of human interest.
Human consumption
is going, human consumption indeed. If you liken experience to consumption, which it kind of is, like you are what you eat, but you also are what you do. You are what you synthesize mentally and as well as physically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You are what you watch.
Oh, for sure.
So we're out. We are Videodrome now. We are the new flesh.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, all the podcasts, to get meta with it, but all the podcasts that I listen to have definitely, like, in the last, 5 years shaped the type of personality that I have and the type of things I'm interested in, and that'll change because something will fall off. It's like we're so susceptible. Like, nobody's really above the warp that this does.
There are not other podcasts. Real Weirdos disavow the existence of all other podcasts.
We are the first and only.
This is the one to listen to.
We're the first and only podcast. And it's definitely, there are those themes though, like of like this influence of media in that and the way that we've been presenting it, but there are subtle ones too, and I really think that those deserve to be kind of light be shined on them, if to not stutter through my words completely. Like when they go into Professor Oblivion's office, he says, "Oh, I love the view," and then at the end he walks out and he says, "Love the view," but he says it a little more sarcastically. Like the first one was supposed to be funny, and then it was like he was making a point. And it was the idea of it was a closed office with no windows, and it was completely surrounded by media. There's a window down onto the little video like TV menagerie. Yes, but that's what I'm saying. He says, "I love the view" when he looked over into the TV menagerie. But he also but then he said it again at the end as like a sarcastic quip, and it hit different. And you have to remember that he's like, he works in like a building, that has a view, like he works in a big office building. and this a cramped, tiny, not tiny, it's quite a large office. It was a cramped office, and I just found like that it was interesting because it was surrounded by media. It was this overwhelming amount of books and art and sculptures and carvings and all of this stuff. It was this kind of bubble of a particular type of media. Now, it was older media, but that he had surrounded himself with. But then the view was like newer media and it being surrounded. It was just two different versions. I don't know. At least that was my read.
I liked that scene when he goes to visit Olivia Oblivion. Was that her name? The daughter?
No, it's something. It's like, yeah, I don't remember.
But you know,
Bianca.
Bianca.
It's Bianca Oblivion. Yeah.
I like the scene where they go into that back room and there are all the videotapes, cassettes on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
The camera work in that scene is actually really fucking good. They're like spinning around and rotating around James Woods and her, and the videos in the background are very static, but like them moving in front of them, it goes into this whole idea of like the organic and the immaterial. Like they're so well placed and structured behind them, and you have these two moving human bodies in between them. When she told him, like, oh, he actually died on the operating table 11 months ago from his tumor. I just thought, like, that's another one of the scenes with the camera work. Like, the camera work was so good in this movie. Even if you don't think it's a great film overall, I feel like whoever was directing the camera work or like making it possible, there's no better way that they could have visually shown the themes in this movie.
Probably the director.
Yeah. And also
that is a douchey comment.
Watch him edit. Watch that though. That's not staying in.
Yeah. Also
no, that's staying in.
The video menagerie thing that you guys are talking about. You're talking about like little cubicles, right? That like each person.
Yeah, the little like cardboard cubicles.
The cathode mission.
Did that remind you guys of the old Cybe cafes from when we were kids?
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of going in and playing like Counter-Strike or some shit.
Yeah, I called it the cathode cafe in my notes, and then when I saw the sign again, I was like, oh, it's a mission. Okay, that makes more sense because of the religious aspect. But yeah, but I originally called it like an internet cafe.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's where you and your buddies go to pone each other in 2001.
Exactly.
To play some Day of Defeat.
Yeah.
Some Quake tournament.
Quake, yeah. Yeah, so I've been thinking this whole time as we've been talking, like the more I think about it, the more I actually agree with Jeff's assessment of it. But I think I got defensive at first because you front loaded all your negativity. I think if we'd gotten to the negativity later, I would have been like, yeah, but those are subservient to the things that actually work, which are the themes and the visuals, and how those things work together.
That's the best part of the movie.
I definitely can see that it's structurally strange, and the acting. I mean, I think James Woods is good.
Yeah, me
but
too.
It's not memorable acting. You're not watching Philip Seymour Hoffman here. It is very much like I said in the beginning. It's like elevated schlock. Like this is a B movie that climbs out of its B moviness.
Yeah. Because
David Cronenberg has things to say, and he says them in really interesting ways. You know, it's not just like a guy watches porn and then like some body horror happens.
Yeah.
There's a point to all of it that there isn't in even Dead Alive, which I keep referencing, but it's amazing. But that's schlock, but it's amazing,
It's not too ham-fisted either, Videodrome. It doesn't like feed you the themes or like beat you over the head with them.
Quite the opposite, really.
Yeah, like it's hard to explain because I don't know if I had anything really negative to say about the film. I just, like, some people might say that it being a B movie that climbs out of that schlockiness, like maybe they'll take that as like a demerit towards the film, but I think it isn't. And I also think that being sub 90, it does like a lot in a clean way. If that
it's
makes
a lot
sense.
done. It says a lot in 90 minutes for sure.
So, I mean, maybe if it was longer, the pacing and things would have been remedied?
No,
I'm not sure.
This movie belongs in the 90-minute category. It's just it's the type of movie it is. I just think that it just needed a little Cronenberg. And now that you're saying this, Jesse, it really makes me think more about what my initial input is. I really think Cronenberg, he's a visual storyteller for sure, and film we know is a visual medium, but he tells a story in even a more visual way. He really seizes all of the tools that film provides to tell a tactile story, a story that you can feel with your fingers. And I really like that about Cronenberg, and I think that's what he did well in this movie, and that's why the story suffers a little bit and the acting suffers, is because he needs to tell the story visually. So we need to like set up the scene and have it executed well and build the tension and all that. But yeah, I think that he's more trying to tell us a tactile story using all tools, and I think he does that really well in this movie.
Well, you can definitely feel some of that skin ripping. You're like,
man.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of times
when he shoots Convex at the De Medici like extravaganza or whatever, at like some weird,
oh my god, the eyeglass gala and stage show.
Yeah.
Fucking was random shit. Like I was like, is this whole thing a hallucination?
When he shoots him though, and like you have like his brains like oozing out of his head and like his eye and skull cracking, but his tongue is still like moving organically. I was like, this is some of the best like body horror stuff I've ever seen. Like,
yeah, it's Cronenberg.
The gore effects are incredible.
Oh, they're amazing.
Super
like,
fun.
And when it happens, like, because that was like really the biggest moment of like kind of Cronenberg-y gore in the movie. There was, the hand on the hacker guy that turns into, I think, a stick grenade.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure what that was.
I think it was a stick
guys.
grenade. I'm pretty sure it was like a German stick grenade. But
those were used by like the Axis powers. That's the way they designed their grenades. And like we had just like ones that looked like little baseballs.
Well, yeah, because you could throw the stick grenades farther, but they were less powerful. Because you were using a lot of anyway.
History time with Jefferson.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that's what it was supposed to be, but it was confusing. But yeah, that kind of stuff, like that was the big scene, and I love how it happened instantly. Like there was no preamble into it. He shoots him in the head, he falls on the ground, and the next take is the dummy on the ground writhing and the fucking blood and the gun. It was like they didn't even waste any time. Cronenberg was like, I know what the people want, and they just like put it out there, and it was so awesome. It was like, yeah, I remember looking at it, I was just like, yes, dude, yes, that's what I want. Well, the weird shit.
This was still in the era where he was like, Cronenberg wasn't super known. He was doing low budget horror movies, which this kind of is. He was getting he got some notice after like The Brood and Scanners. People are like, oh, this is kind of a guy to watch. So like later that decade, he did The Fly, a few other things, Naked Lunch, like I said. And then his career gets interesting later because he just gives up on that stuff. He's like, no, I want to make weird character dramas starring Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen all of those movies that he paired up with Viggo in.
Yeah.
Which ones are those?
Eastern Promises, A History of Violence, and there's another one in there that I'm missing.
A Dangerous Method.
Yeah, that's
where he plays either Freud or Carl Jung. I can't quite remember.
Is there like body horror in these movies or no?
No.
This is just totally devoid of his like normal style.
Eastern Promises has a pretty, like you were saying, tactile, Jeff. I think that's a good word. There's a few shots and few scenes in Eastern Promises where he's like fighting naked in a
in the bathhouse.
Yeah, and you can like smell the scene. You can like feel their skin scraping against like the tile and everything. It's just a pretty all out like, I don't know. It's very realistic, I guess. It's not one of those like choreographed fight scenes. It's like how you would imagine a fight would go down in real life inside of a shower house. But
yeah, if you want to see Viggo Mortensen like fight Russians while naked in a bathhouse,
I'm in.
That's great. It's a great movie.
I'm into that.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, Videodrome. It's
what?
a movie.
What's Videodrome?
What's Videodrome? What have we been talking about?
Death to Videodrome.
Is there anything else? There was a few other little things. Oh, my video game reference. I might as well throw that out now. Have either of you ever dabbled in the Max Payne series?
Mm-hmm.
Well, specifically the first two. Max Payne 3, okay.
I was going to say the first one, I think, is the only one I've played.
But the first two definitely borrow, not the body horror or any of that, but the horror aesthetic from Cronenberg 100%. I wish I could go into a detail without taking too much time on such a small reference, but if you've seen Videodrome and also played Mass Effect 1 and 2, I really think that scene where Nikki is in the TV and he's really getting into it and she's speaking very softly and saying his name, and his name is Max.
And that's in Mass Effect?
No. This is Max Payne.
I know. You said Mass Effect.
Oh, did I? That's probably because I'm playing Mass Effect. I'm playing Mass Effect Legendary right now. So anyway, I'm sorry. In Max Payne, it's like his name is Max in the movie as well. So the way she like whispers Max is a lot like Mona Sachs and in the Max Payne games, and the kind of like weird psychedelic sci-fi is very much the reminiscent in those games as well.
Okay, I have no idea if you're making a gigantic stretch or not. I don't know.
Really? Oh,
maybe not. I just have no idea.
It's just what jumped out to me. I don't always have reasonings. I just say what I feel.
I mean,
that's great.
That makes
I'm just
sense.
saying I don't remember Max Payne, so
yeah. I mean,
I couldn't say
this is
one way or the other.
This is a very niche reference. It
really is.
This is not a. This isn't apparent. This is just something
Welcome
that
to our
popped
movie
out to
podcast.
This is something that popped out to me as someone who's played a lot of video games, way too many.
Welcome to the Reel Weirdos. We're here to review Max Payne 1.
Sponsored by GameStop.
Starring Mark Wahlberg.
Oh boy, Videodrome.
Didn't they make a movie with Marky Mark?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
They did.
Yeah, and Mila Kunis in it. Yeah, it wasn't horrible. I mean, it wasn't good. It was pretty shit.
I didn't see it.
It was like one of those TNT movies that you'll put on in the background while you're like shooting heroin.
Right, of course. Oh, it's one of those. Okay, well, I'll add it to my list for that.
Yeah,
for that activity.
For that, then.
I usually do that Thursday afternoon, so I could probably squeeze it in.
What I put in the category of movies you OD to.
I don't know. I feel like I'd rather OD to something interesting. Like OD to Naked Lunch. Or Videodrome.
OD to Hard Rain.
OD to Hard Rain. Oh, God. The Hard Rain references.
Or Lawrence
and
of
fast.
Arabia or something.
Yeah, you listeners out there, you got to go watch Hard Rain, if
No,
only
you
to
don't.
understand why we reference it all the time.
Oh, man.
It is a movie.
It's bad. It's not good.
Just wipe your ass with 20 grit sandpaper. And then
It is the movie, for sure.
It's a very movie-ish movie. Yeah, Videodrome. Sort of landed different.
We just never we'll just never be able to end a podcast properly. Just ever.
Well, it's like I'm just not sure when we're done or not. It's hard to encapsulate it all, especially this one. This one's a little difficult to encapsulate, especially because we all had very different, or varying reactions to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, and I also think that a movie like this you don't want to expand too much on, because I do feel like it does take away from the individual's interpretation of the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also not so deep that we haven't touched on pretty much all of the themes.
Yeah, it's not like a holy mountain.
Yeah, the desensitization, internalization of imagery. Does he dip his leftover pizza crust in coffee in the beginning, by the way? Or was it milk?
Either one would be terrible.
I know.
You said, or is it milk, as if that would have been the normal thing. Or was it just milk?
No, I wasn't sure what he was preparing.
Either would be horrible. I would rather dip my pizza crust in coffee than milk.
He drinks his ranch out of a coffee mug.
Yeah, dips his leftover pizza crust.
James Woods is like, I won't act in this movie unless I can get a mug of ranch and some old pizza crust.
My last thing.
That's his
fee for acting.
That's his version of Michael Caine's steak dinners.
Seriously. You know, he does have a spot in Westwood in LA called I don't know, it's a pizza place. And they have, you know, the celebrities that have come to like visit and put up like their headshot and had them sign it. James Woods is on that wall 20 plus times. It's like his favorite pizza spot, apparently. And like, you look at this wall of celebrities, you're like, oh, I know that guy, I know this guy. And then there's a separate section where it's just all the different times that James Woods has fucking come in to eat at this pizza place.
It's just like a wall of James Woods photos.
Yeah, exactly.
This is James Woods with Jeffrey Epstein. This is James Woods with Donald Trump. This is James Woods with Paul Manafort.
Paul Manafort? Damn, we're just running the gamut on fucking the campaign team. But my last thing to say about Videodrome is, as someone who just loves like watching movies and like can disconnect maybe from the more critical analysis of it, like, it's really fun. It's really entertaining, and it's short enough to not like drag on, even with all of its pitfalls, which aren't many, and they aren't too deep of pitfalls. But I would have loved to be part of the set design on this movie.
Oh yeah,
like
everyone who was making this movie had so much fun. You could tell, like, everyone was having a great time. To be in the prop department for this movie would be the fucking coolest thing.
Yeah, it translates, I think, to a good experience for the moviegoer as well. There's just something so organic and real about all of it, even with the crazy like video cassette stomach. And can we talk about the helmet really quick that he puts on and that scene?
Yeah,
the effect.
Absolutely.
Holy shit, though! Like
he puts on his virtual
rendering
boy
of that like software program that they must have had to run to like show that special effect.
Yeah,
that was really cool. I was like, whoa, like for 1983, I thought that was extremely impressive.
Yeah, they had some funky, like, cool little sci-fi effects that I had never seen in other early sci-fi movies like this, and it was cool. Yeah, they had the helmet, the recording of the hallucinations. I just thought that stuff was like really neat, and it was like kind of almost out of place because it was like the only kind of piece of tech like that.
Yeah,
because otherwise the signal had a very paranormal aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Videodrome signal, it's like, what is this? Is this otherworldly? Is this like kind of Lovecraftian, like outside of space type of thing? But then they introduced this like very clunky piece of technology that's like, oh, okay, so now we're getting a little science here. So yeah, it
does
weird,
look like Daft Punk.
Yeah, it was a little Daft Punk helmet. I thought that was pretty funny.
Jesse, since you do more thorough research than either one of us most of the time,
especially Jeff,
what was the budget for this movie?
What's your guess?
I want to say in between like 7 or 10 million.
Yeah, it's 6 million.
Oh, okay, not bad.
That's what it looks like, you know?
Yeah.
And because you don't need the crazy computer effects because they didn't really exist yet.
Yeah.
Thank God, because these practical effects are amazing.
They're not only to have the balls to zoom in like they did on that hand scene and hold that shot as the tubes were coming through the prosthetic fingers and in, and then the blood. Like, so many fucking things had to go right for that scene to happen. Because it's and they're like, just have the confidence in your practical effects to just hold a well-lit camera shot on it. I mean, that looked like, when you looked at the fingers, you could see that like it was like a cast and that there was still like no separation between the fingers and everything. Like, you could see that it was a cast, but it was so just, I don't know, I just was blown away by the confidence that effects artist had. It was just like, no, put that camera on it, light it, put that shit through, we're showing it. I'm a god.
Yeah, right. I wonder how many tries they had to do, how many iterations. And that's an interesting thing is like yeah, I don't know exactly when I stopped looking at these things as real, you know, like my brain when I see something like that automatically knows it's a prop, and I'm like appreciating the prop, and I'm like, yes, that's awesome. or terrible, as the case may be, you know, which is, and I think that was one of the most interesting things about the movie, and I touched on this earlier, is the fact that, like, this is one of the movies that desensitized me.
Yeah.
You know? And that's, like, exactly what it's saying. It's what it's, like, warning you about, and at the same time it's doing it to you.
Yeah, it's
which one could say is, like, hypocritical, but I think is not. I think it's very much on purpose.
Yeah, I think it's part of the meta that he's talking about.
Exactly. That's a great way to say it. It's just meta. It's doing what it's saying and blibbity blurberty blur.
So elevated, so metaphorical.
It's so metaphorical. Oh my God.
I did love the tagline, I guess, of the movement, right?
Long live the new flesh.
Yeah.
Long live the new
Death
flesh.
to Videodrome.
Yeah.
Long live the new flesh, everyone.
Long live the new flesh. Yeah. Thanks for doing this show with me, guys. You know what? I was listening to I won't name the podcast. I don't remember what it was called anyway. I was just searching for other podcasts about movies, see how people do it. And they were like, this week we're talking about the Zack Snyder's new movie, blah, 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 Army of the Dead. Let's get some numbers. Jeff, what's your number for this movie? And they're like, they have this like snappy, douchey aesthetic where they're just like, oh, let's start out. I'm Bob. I'm Jeff. I'm blurb. And like,
why am I
doing the numbers, and then just like, I don't know. I was so glad that we are dry, boring assholes who speak slowly. Well, two of us do. But you know, I don't know. I like our energy, and I'm glad. Is my belabored point, I guess.
Well, let me go ahead and throw away all my ideas that I had for the show. Douchey aesthetic. Cross that one off.
Just that like high energy, stupid nerd aesthetic. You know what I mean?
It's like when you walk into an Applebee's, right? Compared to when you walk into like a Chinese restaurant. It's like, hi, my name's Alex. I'm going to be your service today.
Comparison.
Where then you're just
there
like,
are many.
In the Chinese one, they're just like, what do you want? You should buy this.
I get what you're saying now. It's just, yeah, it's definitely was a weird. You worded that a little strange.
That was a wild comparison.
I get what you mean now that you've explained it, but it's just at first I'm just like, okay, well, Alex just had a fucking stroke.
Maybe he's hungry. He's just hungry. He hasn't had breakfast yet.
I always just think of the like, whenever anyone comes like with the adjectives of like high energy or like almost campy hokiness, I just think of the way that we train servers in this country. Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, definitely. It's the idea of having to try to sell yourself as a product as opposed to just being like, hey, you came here to eat and not be bothered.
Exactly.
I get it. Yeah. No, it's
it should be the tagline for life. I just came here to eat and not be bothered.
Pretty much. Like, that's pretty much my life right now, at least. No, I definitely agree. I definitely think that what you're talking about, Jesse, is this idea of having to appeal to a algorithm or having to appeal to the idea of this being a listening medium. And what these guys are doing, you know, more power to them. You know, this is their format, and if that's what they do, that's what they do.
Yep.
If they're having fun, I love it. It's just like that format is indicative of like, oh, I'm in my car and I'm driving and like I want to listen to these guys be like high energy. Like, you listen to us after you've like smoked a joint, had a cocktail, and are like gonna fall asleep halfway during the podcast.
Or just like, I don't know. I've never been one who likes that kind of like, I don't know, like they'll do, I was just looking through the thing and I was like, oh, they do Space Jam 2 and do all these like new movies and it's just like searching for views. You know, which we'll do contemporary stuff when it looks interesting, or if we want to troll each other. That's a good. That'll definitely occur too. It's almost happened twice already. But yeah, we generally are slower, drier people, and we just do what we want to.
I see the value in being like, I'm a little more high energy. I talk a bit quicker, and I have a hard time like organizing myself because I'm thinking so quickly. But it's it's definitely something that is unique for us. We just, there's value in every single form and format. It's just not our format. I'm not attracted to the high energy podcast myself. I'm not attracted to numerical systems in general. Don't think they really add value to an opinion at all. They just kind of make it digestible.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
On some episode. Like, do you want to do numbers? Alex is like, do you want to do numbers? We're like, no. No numbers. And then I gave Macbeth a 9.
Yep, thanks. Appreciate that. You broke it just for me, baby. Daddy.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks for listening.
We'll put you out of the misery of this conversation.
Yeah,
this
have a good one. We'll be back with Paul Thomas Anderson. We've been teasing it for a while, but we wanted to give ourselves extra time just to synthesize his whole filmography. So that'll be next week. And thanks for listening.
Later.
Go see Videodrome.
Go see it at your local theater.